There we go.
All right, thanks, Dale. Well, welcome everybody to MVP Office Hours, number 93. Getting close to 100, which will be a special day. I'm Jared Kingston. I'm a solution architect with Aperio and help lead the MVP Office Hours. I also have my fearless counterparts in Jackie Travieso and Gail Ziegler on with me. And let's there's just a quick view of some of the events coming up. Make sure you check those out if you haven't already. But let's you can go. You could advance to the next slide there. I gave you a little curveball there. If this is your first time at MVP Office Hours, it's just an open discussion. We do this every first and third Friday of each month. There's no question or topic too big or too small. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Feel free to ask those types of questions. So we record it. We post it out there to our community group page on the Success community. So make sure you're getting notified there. And then we also post it to Twitter at MVP Office Hours. So make sure you follow that. Because it is open, we just ask that you mute your line so that we don't hear any background noise, and it's easy to hear questions and answers. And along that same line, don't put us on hold, because it's even harder when you hear hold music, which has happened several times before. And then just to ask questions, just raise your hand in the meeting, or if we're at a dead spot, feel free to just speak up, and you'll know that when we ask for more questions. And then just announce yourself when you're responding to things. That way we kind of know who it is. So let's go on and to our special guest for today. All right, we're really excited to have Mohit on this call with us today. He's a developer. The thing I'm most excited about is his experience with Lightning Components and just how that's growing. So we're excited to have him on to offer up his expertise. And so let's see. We've got a whole slew of MVPs along with Mohit on the call. And to give you an idea of those MVPs, we've got several of them here. Obviously, I mentioned us as the hosts, but we also have Carlos and Jennifer and Mike and Patrick, Rhonda, and Steve. So make sure you connect with those folks out on the Twitter sphere. And with that being said, let's get going. So who wants to kick us off with the first question?
Anything is fair game, because we also don't have anything in the chat yet.
I have a question or kind of a problem I'm trying to solve. If anyone has come across making a call to Twilio from within Salesforce and not using the library. I see there's a library out there that you can pull in through Ant. And I've successfully integrated Twilio, but I was integrating it through a .NET application running in Windows Azure. But now I'm trying to bring that integration all inside of Salesforce. So just making a generic web service call, but seem to be having problems.
Hey, this is Adam Olszewski. I've integrated with Twilio before in Salesforce. Did you have a specific question or an issue area you're running into?
Yeah, a specific area, I guess. So I was able to make this call using Postman and Fiddler, just generic, sending the token and so forth, and the secret. And within Salesforce, I am able to get a return, a JSON return payload of account information, but it just seems to keep returning the error. The from number is incorrect, and I think it's some type of generic error because the same calls, creating the same headers and so forth in Fiddler and Postman work just fine, but in Apex it returns that error.
Okay. Yeah, I know we had to build out a bunch of so part of the integration was done before I joined, but we had to build out a bunch of classes that I presume we got from Twilio somewhere, and we're able to make the connection that way. I know their API was a little bit tricky to use, though.
Is there a link to that?
Yeah, I can. Let me see if I can post it in the chat here.
Okay.
So I posted it in the chat there. Looks like there's something you just need to clone down from GitHub.
Okay.
Or actually, there's an unmanaged package too you can also install on there.
Great.
Hopefully that'll get you started.
The chat is blank for me. Maybe I should send something.
There it is.
I thank you for posting that, Adam, and I've copied it into the deck that will then also share on the office hours group post meeting.
Thank you. Yes, I am aware of this. So, and I wanted to avoid doing this if I could, and just kind of almost keep it real simple, like almost a curl type command where I just call out and make it happen. But I guess that's not for some reason not going to be possible with Salesforce. Maybe the way it's it's talking to that web service.
I think it's probably more a Twilio thing than a Salesforce thing, because I've been able to connect to other APIs with Salesforce, but Twilio gave me some weird behavior for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sure thing.
All right. John Graff has his hand raised, but I'm only going to let him answer if he promises to hand out Garbage Pail Kids cards to everybody at Dreamforce.
Yeah, I'll make sure to bring just enough for everybody. You can't just bring one piece of gum to class, right?
Exactly.
How's it going, guys? Good to talk to you again. I, just like many people, just got granted access to a partial copy sandbox. First time I got to play with it was yesterday. And I initiated it, and it is still pending. So my question really is simply, is 24 hours a common issue with a partial sandbox copy? So John, it probably depends how big your org is, I would imagine. I know our sandboxes usually take, like our full sandboxes can sometimes take up to 2 days to fully complete the refresh process. So I'm guessing if you have a pretty big org, it could potentially take a little while. So we usually do ours like over a weekend. So we'll start at Friday night, and then sometime Sunday it'll come back up. Okay. But depending on how big it is, I guess, and how much, I haven't played too much around with the commercial sandboxes, but I know there's some data you replicate over there as well.
Well, that makes sense. My developer sandboxes that I use usually takes me about 20 minutes to refresh, which is nothing. And I shaved the objects down that I'm using to just 94 essential ones. I left off another 200. So what you're telling me is it could take a lot longer, but 24 hours is not out of the question, huh?
Yeah, like our developer sandboxes, I think, when I provisioned a new one the other day, took like 15 hours, and then last time I refreshed one, it took about 6 hours.
Okay.
Not a horrible idea to check trust and see if the destination instance is hung up, especially with all the summer refreshes and previews and things going on leading up to these next two releases. You might just be caught in the pipeline of everyone else trying to do the same.
Trying to do the exact thing. Everybody else getting the partial. Everybody wants to run it right now too, right?
And you want to make sure it's not on NA14.
Hey now.
Is that too soon?
So that
I'm muted.
Yeah, Mohit, your I'm sorry that your microphone I think is messed up because you just came through like that like a voice scrambler, almost as if you have like a ransom call.
What does it sound like to me?
It sounded like Darth.
Yeah, or Darth Vader. Maybe Dale, if you want to unmute him and see if it's any better. But I'm a little scared.
He said he put in the chat, "Let me join via phone."
Okay, yeah, let's let him join via phone because we don't want to scare the children with this recording.
But while we wait for him to jump on the phone, I think for anybody who doesn't actively follow release notes and release updates, Summer 16 is a huge one with now at least enterprise. I'm an enterprise customer, so I don't necessarily know about all the other additions, but we now get 25 developer sandboxes. We now get one partial sandbox, so that is a new freebie, new out-of-the-box thing. So for those who don't know and can take advantage of that, definitely do it. So I'm glad John brought that up. Adam says Unlimited gets one partial 100 dev. So definitely a lot of goodies with this new release.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Looks like, Mary, you have your hand raised.
Yes. Am I on mute or no?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, good. As part of this upgrade, we now have Sales Console, and I've been struggling through the setup. Any hints, tips? How does it work?
Problems are you seeing?
I'm struggling with how to get it set up. So I contacted support, and they gave me a list of instructions, but when I go in and view it, I just basically see the Lightning, how it would display in Lightning. I'm not seeing the different windows with the different, like I look at my account, but then I can see opportunities and contacts and all the other stuff, like what you're supposed to see. At least that's my assumption. So any hints, tips on how to set it up?
So there's a new Trailhead module that talks about customizing the service console. I think Sales Console should be pretty similar, but I know there might be some options you can look at to like add tabs through editing it. If you go to create apps and then look at the Sales Console app and then edit, might be some options there to configure some stuff.
Okay, you said in Trailhead?
Yeah, so there's a new service console module that came out the other day, but it talks about customizing consoles in general. So that should be the same application for Sales Console.
Right. I'll take a look at it.
This is Carlos. And with the first thing that you have to do is you have to select what's your parent object. And let's say that you select account as your parent object, and the only thing that you will see is the list of accounts. But then there's a part of the configuration that it will allow you that once that you select an account, then it will load the account. And if you select a contact, it will load in another tab. So the basic configuration doesn't look like it does much. But that's kind of like the key. So if you select too lower of an object, like a contact, then it might not do much if you don't have a related object to see. So if you select a contact and you don't have cases, they won't then technically will not do anything. So if you're just playing with it, I will suggest to go and select the parent account as the parent as the account object as the parent, and that might make it do something.
Okay. So basically, though, when you select it then, and it's a tab that shows up, not another window where you can actually see it. So you'd have to tab onto each one, or go to each one of the tabs then to see the related information. Is that how it works?
The most basic configuration, that's how it works, right? So it's kind of like the same behavior if you had really browser tabs, but within just one browser tab. There is extra or more advanced configuration where you can actually start windowing inside the console and say, okay, and I think that's driven by the page layout, if I remember correctly, where you can say the left side of the screen is going to be the account and the right side of the screen is going to be the contact.
Okay.
But out of the box, it does very little, and it does the tab inside the browser tab.
Okay.
But that's what you want to do. You want to get to that point first because otherwise you won't be able to do anything else.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can have you been to the area? Just checking to make sure. We are doing something with Service Console, as he said. I think most people are. But if you go into the setup, build, create, and apps, and pick up your console, maybe even looking at Service Cloud Console, what we have, near the bottom, it really has a nice interface where you select what happens when you open or click on, like you said, the main object. So if you click on a lead, it opens as a primary tab or as a sub tab. So I think that's where you might want to take a look. Also,
Okay.
Let me know if you're there. Are you in the setup menu?
No. Let me get there. This is all brand new to me. We don't have Service Cloud, although I understand we have Service Cloud now as part of this upgrade. So all the console pieces are brand new to me, which I'm trying to work through. I mean, I got the instructions, the user guide, and it just didn't give me what I needed. Okay. So you want me to go to Setup?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in Setup.
Okay, and then go to Build.
Okay.
And Create.
Okay.
And Apps.
Okay.
And see if you have any type of console listed there at all.
Yeah, I started through the process. So I created the Sales Console itself, the app, but it's just I didn't know what to do for further customization.
So maybe open that up and see if we're looking at the same thing, and someone else can feel free to chime in. Yeah, so click on it.
Who is this speaking right now?
Curtis.
Oh, okay, Curtis. Awesome. Just wanted to put a voice with the name.
Okay. Well, I'm John when I get the wrong answer, so I change my name. You can stop the recording or what have you, but this is just what we're doing. I know for our console, and but I think the tabs may be similar for you. So if you're in the edit mode,
Uh-huh.
Scroll near the bottom, and you'll start to see choose how records display.
I see it now. Okay.
And and if you go a little bit lower, you can see choose list placement, which says, basically just full screen, or you can have your pin things to the left or pin to the top.
Okay, because I didn't see that when I first set it up and didn't think or know to go back to this. So, okay, this will take me a lot further. Thank you very much.
Anytime. My name is still Curtis. It helps. Won't have to change my identity.
Awesome, thanks. All right, who else has a question? And Mohit, are you back with us?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. And much less creepy.
Sorry about the creep.
That's all right.
No problem. Squire has his hand raised.
Hi, everybody. Hopefully not too weird of a question. So we have two custom objects, master and a detail record. And when people make modifications to the detail record, we take some information from all of the child records, put it together in a text string, and put it at the parent record just for reporting purposes. We also need to be able to then lock that top record so that we can't modify, add, or remove the child records from it. The challenge we're having is that I can use a validation rule to lock the parent so that you can't delete children, but because of the code that does this roll-up, it throws a really nasty apex error rather than standard validation pop-up. So I'm just wondering what's the best practice to stop deletion of a child when there's classes that take the data and move it up to parent.
All right. So you're trying to delete the child objects via the standard Facebook interface, and you have a trigger to add an error. So I assume you're using .addError method to sort of restrict that. Is that what you're trying to do there?
I haven't gotten there yet. Right now, it's the code is all written assuming that you can do adds and deletes, and then the class in place knows to rewrite the text strings based on the additions and removals. The trigger just does a is delete is add check, but I'm not 100% sure how to deal with at the time of the child deletion if the parent has this checkbox that says I'm frozen, what the right process is. Do I add some sort of like try catch to the trigger with an error exception, or am I passing something to the class anyway? I'm not sure what the right process for that is.
Yeah, so all the errors in the trigger needs to be popped up to the UI via .addError method.
Okay.
So the .addError method in the FX is basically where you can put your customized message. So let's say you can catch an exception, you have a try and catch block. So in the catch block, you can catch that exception, and then you can use the addError method to sort of write your own message on top of that. And that should be pretty formatted message for you.
Okay.
That should work. But one more catch is when you are deleting a record, right? Let's say you are writing a trigger on deletion, and you're trying to avoid the error on the deletion. Now that's the time that .addError does not work that perfectly. But if you're just trying to validate it on the parent record, you can just use the addError method and keep the validation, because your validation is depending on list of the child records. Which means that this scenario requires a trigger, and this is not something that you can directly do through the validation. Right. Because
right.
You need to look at the other records, and that's the time you need the ability to query for that, right? And the trigger is the only one that can provide you that. Yeah, you can basically use .addError method in your trigger itself and keep the validation inside the trigger itself.
Okay. And then one follow-up question on that. So I've done a little bit of addError. in my testing, and it works great if you happen to be on the child record when you cause to delete. But if you try to delete from the related list, it doesn't seem to know what to do with the error. Is there a specific configuration about how to handle it when you're deleting from the related list?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so the one way I have been able to do that, if we need the petty format and stop that standard Salesforce ugly page, is by overwriting, the delete with a custom action,
Right.
And with that, you should be able to link that to a Visualforce page, and you may write your delete logic there, and that will give you flexibility to show up the error on the next page in a format. But I think that's what you can do there, but it will require a Visualforce.
All right.
Some sort of bug.
All right. Thank you very much for your help.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Bala, you put a question in the chat window. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Hi. Actually, I have a doubt. I'm creating a Lightning component, for Community Builder. So I'm using the standard HTML markup with SLDS, the Lightning Design System CSS. I just want to know whether I can go with Aura framework. Say, for example, if I want to display an input text, is it better to go with a standard HTML with SLDS input or Aura input text?
So the Aura, I would go with the Aura Lightning component that Salesforce provides.
Okay.
Now the advantage of Lightning components are every the component that Salesforce provides. For example, in your case, it might be Aura input or in Aura input text, right? It provides additional attributes for you to do extra things. That you may have to write custom if you just go with a pure HTML, right? So that's the reason why I always prefer to use read through the Lightning documentation, the component developer guide, and figure out, get familiar with all the components that are available out of box, Aura components, and all the attributes there, so that you can leverage them, because some of them have excellent event mechanisms. So by that, what you can do is you can pretty much write your validations pretty easily than writing the entire JavaScript code again using the SLDS. But again, you can also use the component framework components and design it specifically like SLDS with some CSS for that particular component. So especially for Community Builder, right? There are tokens. So there is a concept of tokens. I don't know if you have access to a particular blog. I will chat that blog right away. So there are tokens. There are standard tokens that are available. So with that tokens, what you can do is you can pretty much configure the CSS to you can keep the CSS configurable as well, or respect the Community Builder configuration that admin does on that particular Lightning component, right? So let me get you that particular blog post that should help you to style it a bit. And you can always use the SLDS to style it and use the component frameworks, standard Salesforce components. And that should also give you extra events that you need to do additional logic with little effort than trying to write that entire thing again in JavaScript.
Okay. Do we have any best practice document for Lightning component Lightning?
The developer component guide for Lightning?
Yeah. Do we have any best practices that needs to be followed, or say similar to Visualforce page? Do we have any link provided? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll try to add that link right away and find that exact link in the documentation. But the Lightning component does have some best practices. If you go into the JavaScript cookbook chapter, which is I think the last chapter probably, they have some best practices clearly documented. But the thing is, it's not consolidated. Like if you read through each of the component documentation, right? There you will see a note being written that, like for example, if you're using Aura render if and Aura if, So there is clearly documentation saying that okay, this component might be slower. Yeah, correct. This might be slower than the other component. So it is not consolidated best practice list, but I'll try to dig and see if I can get hold of that list. There is one document on the security from the ISV team that has a pretty consolidated list of what you should follow as a best practice for the security point of view and passing your components on the App Exchange. Coming back to for the SI partners, what should be the right pattern, right? I would typically follow the same guide that Salesforce has put up there.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
Sure. Let me get hold of the documents and chat to you.
Also, we have a question that came in from Nerdesh, and the question is there any issue to having multiple communities for different products? And I'm assuming you're just asking different communities within your same org?
Yeah, that's correct. So, basically we are planning to roll out the community, and our client had different, articles, knowledge management, and different requirements for each product. So what we are planning to roll out the multiple communities for different products. So I just wanted to make sure, is there any issues if we roll out the multiple communities in future in terms of report, in terms of other challenges that we could face out if we roll out multiple communities?
Yeah. So one of the things that you need to be aware of when you set up the multiple communities is overall how many knowledge articles that your client has, right? Because there is a number of limitations on number of articles that are permitted, right? And so those, going through the limits per community will also help you to figure out, what should be. So again, these limits are not per community. It is like for an entire community cloud. Like for example, the number of knowledge articles, right? So they are pretty much decided for the org. So when you are setting up the multiple communities, right, you may write down, okay, for each of your communities, what is the amount of articles that you are trying to consume, or what is the amount of the logins or the number of users that you are trying to set it up, and consider various parameters there, so that you can arrive at that estimate of, seeing whether you are within the limits. Now, setting up the communities for one particular org, you can set up 50 communities. And I have worked on a project which involved 5 different communities. So I don't have an experience with 50 communities, but with 5 communities, I saw that there was no such issues that I encountered, with all these different communities. It just works in a different context, and to differentiate between different communities, you can also always use something. If you're writing too much of Apex on that, you can use network classes. So that will give you this community-specific configuration for each of your different communities, and run from there. And also try to use component model. So with that component model, if you write a UI component, right, if you write it as a component pattern, then you can reuse that particular component to different communities instead of rewriting everything each time for each of your communities.
Yeah, so thanks for your information. And I do have the follow-up questions on the same community lineup. So we are planning to utilize the NAPI template, but yeah, it might be possible that we need to customize it. So what do you suggest? I mean, should we go ahead with the NAPI and just customize based on the Lightning component, or we should go ahead with the Visualforce approach? I mean, what would be your suggestion?
Yeah, so the suggestion is, again, it depends on your client's requirement. For example, let's say your client is always looking to customize it and provide admins with an ability to drag and drop components, right? And they have that flexibility of changing the UI every time, and rearranging the components. In that case, the component model works great. You can go with Nepili template, which is the most powerful template that you have. But again, you've got to remember some of the challenges that are there with Nepili, right? There are some functionalities which are not exposed. For example, ideas is not exposed. announcements are not exposed. There are certain things that Salesforce is still building out with these templates, but the advantage of using these templates is that you can drag and drop, the components there, and the development lifecycle will be all in terms of like components. Visualforce is again a great solution, right? But the disadvantage is you always need a developer to sort of make changes if you want to maintain that, and if you want to publish some changes every day in terms of the UI.
Okay.
But it depends on the requirement. Like if you have too much of integration stuff going on, I would not go with Lightning, because with Lightning, what happens is currently there is a locker service that they are putting in place that should allow us to make a call out directly from the Lightning. But currently, you have to proxy it through the FX, and let's say you want some heavy lifting, or scripting to directly doing the call out from your from your page, then the Lightning component doesn't work well. And Visualforce has that power and the flexibility, because you can use other frameworks inside Visualforce like React or Angular, to build a single page applications for your client. So it really depends on your requirement and what functionality how many standard functionalities are you trying to leverage, and your support strategy that you want to sort of put forward in maintaining that particular community.
Okay, thanks. So you are suggesting if we have to customize a lot, then we should go ahead with Visualforce. But if
yes.
there is little bit customization, then we could go ahead with the Lightning app.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I think sounds like we answered that question. Let's go to, I hope I say this right, so I apologize if I don't. Kaushik, you had a question?
Oh, yeah.
Or a doubt related to communities and Lightning?
Yes. So, first of all, hi, Mohit.
Yeah, hey.
So I think thanks a lot for all the great work that you have on the success communities and the Stack Exchange. It helps a lot. And apart from that, so the question that I was having is, I was trying to build an application where I needed to have like a custom page from which I can access the knowledge articles. Now the requirement is something like I need to have a community which is using a template, the Napili template, and along with that I need to display the same page or the same Lightning components, you can say, on my Salesforce One application as well. Mm-hmm. One challenge that I faced is regarding navigating to the detail page of a knowledge article. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm trying to access the detail page of a knowledge article in a community, it's a completely different URL. And if I'm trying to do the same, accessing the detail page of a knowledge article in Salesforce One application, then it's like a completely different URL. So there is no single piece of code that can basically, you can say, open my detail page of knowledge article in case of Salesforce One app and communities, or maybe a Lightning application, like if I'm including a Lightning component in a Lightning application. So just wanted to know, like, if you have any kind of perspective or any idea regarding same.
Sure. Yeah. So I think it was last release that Salesforce came up with a method. I will try to take that method in and get you the name of the method. It's going to give you the theme. So basically, it's going to tell you whether you are inside Lightning container or SF1 app very specifically, right? And also, when you are inside a community, you pretty much know that you are inside a community with the contact ID, and whenever you do the profile, right, you will pretty much know that, okay, you are inside a community and you are not inside Salesforce One app, right? So what you can do is you can use that theming class and do a little bit of dynamic navigation there, or drop the link dynamically there, based on the theming there to change the URL that you have. I think the URL still uses, in communities, it uses the URL summary field of the article type, I think in SF1 it probably looks for the ID there. So that should help you. But I'll try to dig in that and get you the exact method that distinguishes which UI container you are in, and you can use the network ID there to find out which community you are in.
Okay, so I did the same. Like finally, what I did is like I kind of created the looping around that. Like based on the theme. First of all, I checked for the theme. It was SF1. Then I did a different URL scheme there. But another issue after that, which I faced, is related to like proper navigation. So there are like custom events, like you can say force:navigate to URL.
Right.
So so if I use that, I can definitely do proper navigation in my Salesforce One application. But the same event trigger won't work for you can say communities or a Lightning app. So I need to do a location.href for component or a Lightning application. So if like any kind of workaround around say where the same event, maybe the navigate to URL, those kind of events can be used with communities as well.
Yes, so navigate to URL should work inside the community because community uses the same Lightning container that SF1 uses. So you should be able to get it work. Now, if you're running into some specific error, what I would suggest is probably use Success Community or Stack Exchange and put your question with the code. Maybe I'll be able to dig into that a bit further and assist you if I can there.
Okay, I can do that. Yep, that will be helpful. Okay. Yep. Thanks a lot. That pretty much answers my question.
Sure. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Arthi, you're up. What's your question?
We may have lost Arthi. He had dropped off and back on and dropped off again on the attendee list. So I'll keep an eye on it. And
okay. Who else has a question while we're waiting for Arthi to come back?
This is Jackie. I have a question because I'm totally excited about finally being able to use Process Builder with Professional Edition. I'm just wondering, now that this has been turned on, is there anything funky going on with Process Builder with regard to setting up email alerts? I have one email alert, one email template that I've set up, but Process Builder is not recognizing that that exists. I'm just wondering if anyone else has run into anything funky.
is the email template you're using available to the user trying to run it?
Yes. Right now I'm just trying to actually set it up, and I'm using me as the system admin as the test person.
Oh, gotcha.
So I haven't even gotten to...
Hi, Jackie. This is Brian.
Hey, Brian.
So you were able to, are you able to actually select the email alert in the process itself when you're setting it up?
No, and it doesn't. I start to type the name as is, and it just keeps giving me no matches in any variation of a shorter version of that email alert name.
Okay. I've had a couple people run into this, and we had them file a support case.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly what's going on, but if you have the email alert already created, you should be able to reference it as after you select the email alert as the action process builder. And you should literally type 3 letters of what the name of the email alert is, and it should just pop up. And if you're not seeing anything, something funky is going on, then you're just going to have to submit a support case.
Okay. Would I have caused any kind of a conflict as I was building the process itself? I stopped midpoint and then went in and the email alert. Is there
the email alert needs to be created? Yeah, the email alert needs to be created before you start the process of creating the actual action. So if you started to create the action and you go, oh, I need to create the email alert, you need to cancel the action and then go re-add it.
Okay. All right. I think what I need to do then is log out and log back in because I've done that too. So, all right. If not, then I will be submitting a case. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Mind if I ask a follow-up question on Process Builder?
Go for it.
Okay, and I think I heard Brian, so I know he's going to have the answer for me. So we have a child record called fee sitting below a custom opportunity, don't ask. And we need to send an alert on that fee, like when it's come due. The trick is that there's a combination of criteria where it's the fee record and the related parent record status. And what we're seeing is, as expected, if you change the parent, it doesn't reassess the workflow at the child record to reset the timing or cancel the notification. With me so far? And so we're not really sure the best practice to try to make it fire. And all I can come up with is to have some sort of process call a flow that then writes from the parent back down to all the children to make them effectively see a recalc and then reset the timing on those workflows or clear the message. I don't know if that's making sense.
So you have a process on the child account that you're trying to trigger?
Child record, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to come up. I don't want to use a standard object name because I don't want to throw them.
Yeah, I understand. It was a misspeak on my behalf. So you have a child record that you're trying to have a process fire based on a change at the account level, or at the parent level.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to if you either have to have the action fire at the parent level, or you have to have the parent do something to update the children in an actual edit and save.
Right, yeah. So if I'm at the parent, I can have that downstream workflow, and that one would work fine. But then if it happens at the child, then the parent level one doesn't fire. And if I do it at the child level, then the edit at the parent level doesn't fire. So do I just effectively have to set it twice? But then does it know to change the two processes when they're working independently to clean up the messaging? I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling here.
I almost think I want to have a picture drawn here.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we're saying the same thing. I just want to make sure that I'm not overthinking. At the end of the day, the child is where the message needs to come from, but there's criteria on the parent that is evaluated, and if that changes, it doesn't reevaluate the child workflow.
So let me run through scenarios and tell me if I understand this correct.
Yep.
Okay. So when a criteria is met, you want to send some message. The message comes from the child. All right. Scenarios could be child is modified and the criteria on the child and the parent are all matching, so you send out the message. Okay.
Yep.
Or child is edited, the child meets the criteria, but the parent doesn't. The parent later gets modified, so it does meet the criteria, and you need the messaging sent.
Right.
Okay. So.
And I'll add the third, which is it met, and then you change the parent, so it no longer meets, so it should remove the outbound message, because we're talking about time-based.
Oh. Well, you're dealing with a workflow run then.
Well, that's where I'm at now. I haven't decided if there's a better way to do it all.
You do outbound messaging with Process Builder.
Okay, well, there you go.
So you're stuck with the workflow.
Yeah. Okay.
My original suggestion would be just to have the parent account then. Basically, you're going to have to go through and edit the children.
Yep.
If you want the workflow to fire off with the children.
Yep. So work will rule with the child, write a process at the parent every time some criteria happens, go down and edit all of the children, even though you're not really editing them, but make them feel like they've been edited to refire those workflows.
Right.
Yep. Okay. That's what I was afraid you'd say. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I missed you at yesterday's user group meeting.
I would have loved to have been there. Sorry.
Love it. All right. We've got time for about one more question, and we have one posted here in the community. Before I do, I just want to check to see if, Arthi, if you're back, we'll try to get to your question. If not, we'll move on. All right. Doesn't look like we've got them back. So, Kaushik, you have one more question on if there's a way to display a complete community with templates inside SF1. Is that right?
Yes. And so basically, like whatever communities that we are creating. So I know, like in the SF1 application, we have kind of like a drop down where we can go to any of the communities for which I have access, but it does not give the complete look and feel of the community. It just gives me access to the feeds, the feed tracking, the chatter groups and feeds. So, like, is there a way, or is anyone aware of any way by which I can get a more fuller experience of community inside my SF1 application?
Yeah, so it is really dependent on how actually you are building your community. So, for example, if you use your Visualforce plus tabs and build your community, then the SF1 is you can use the SF1 app to access your community, and basically your Visualforce that you are trying to build will make it compatible enough to support SF1. Now, if you're trying to use the Nephili templates or any of the templates of Salesforce, right? Salesforce doesn't even recommend you to use the SF1 app for that because those templates are responsive by its own. So you should just go to the URL of the community and you should be able to directly access that via your mobile or an iPad device, and you don't need an SF1 app for that.
Okay.
And in case you're looking to build an application, complete application experience, then you may use one of the mobile frameworks, like maybe use the SDK and build an hybrid app, or if your users are looking for a very high performant app, then you can use any of the SDK and build an iOS or an Android app.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Thanks again.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and I think we will wrap up today's call with a lead-in to our next special guest. So if Dale, you want to advance the slide to the...
I did. Is it not showing?
There it is.
Oh.
Just took a bit. All right. Excuse me. We're really excited about our next special guest, Alex Sutherland, who, as you can see there, has over 10 years of experience, and is going to provide a lot of knowledge from developer, technical architect, and we're excited to have him on. He was even actually on today's call, so pretty awesome. And you can follow him. Go ahead and in advance follow him on Twitter, but we will be posting out the sign-up link for that on Monday. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody's time, and we will see you on the next office hours. And don't forget to follow the Twitter account, as well as get on the community page within the Success community. So that being said, everyone have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.